All right, Pat. So I've taken a look at your footage, and of course, this isn't the first time I remember doing a review for you, and I have seen you in class. So it's nice to see a little update for what's going on here. The first thing I'm going to tell you is I made a little, my guess is that this is chronological, and that this practice session, whenever this was, came prior to this practice session here. So the first thing I want to say is that this practice session here, just as I'm watching the gun and recoil, and this isn't the first time I remember seeing you do doubles, this looks like a little bit of an improvement. Now, when you see the shaking, of course, we've gone over this many times, you see the gun oscillating out of recoil like that. It's not a good sign. As this string goes on, it looks like you're starting to fight with the gun more and more, as is natural. Tensing up your firing hand, pushing into the gun, kind of overdriving it. That's all. Yeah. So I look at this and I'm like, this looks like a bit of improvement. I was like, I feel like, yeah, there's a little bit less trigger guard separation. I don't hardly any at all, right? Like the gun's staying put in your hands far better than I kind of remember it, And then we look later on. What I assume chronologically came later. Were you doing some bill drills here? Some doubles, that sort of stuff. This just looks much more stable to me. Maybe not that particular run, but here we are, doubles, here we go. You don't get that tensed up, overdrive kind of look ever, which I really like. And then we kind of look at the target here. Now, this isn't a super great looking target if you don't know what you're looking at. I get that. But you're shooting at 15 yards. You're shooting a limited gun. You're shooting a 40 cal. And you're shooting doubles, quite honestly, far more aggressively than would be practical for you in a match at this point in your shooting career. For me, shooting at this target at 15 yards, I'm not going to have all alphas, not even close, with my limited guns. It'll probably shoot in a group like this with the occasional one over there where I, bounce one off a little bit harder. I start pushing into the gun. This really isn't that bad of a target. Of course, we don't love that things are predominantly just being pushed into the gun. You understand the problem, I think. You understand this is an issue. It's a big issue. But what I'm trying to say is this looks like a really big improvement because at this distance, at this speed, this is not really, it's not that bad. It's like kind of all right. What you'd probably be doing in a match setting at a target at this range is going kind of sight press, and the gun comes out of recoil, confirm the sight picture, and then press off the next shot. That's likely how things would be going in a match. So definitely some improvement being had, and I feel like you understand the issues. Distance changeup I thought was pretty interesting. Okay. So here we see a few reps on this, kind of changing up the direction you're going. All right, I want to point out a couple of things I noticed. So first, notice here, this. So watch the way the muzzle of the gun tracks into the target. You'll notice the gun comes over to the target and then up, kind of in a hook or an L. Watch carefully. So what that says to me is that you didn't get your eye out in front of the gun. So if this is my target over here, first my vision comes onto it, and that's going to guide my gun behind it. Like so. This just means you're, not getting your eye in front of the gun, in front of what you're doing. And then we look at your rotation here. You see this kind of head down on the gun, and your head's not really breaking off of your off of your gun. I am suspicious looking at this that you're following that front sight around, which is necessarily going to make transitioning slower and less precise. If that makes sense. You're going to lose the sight picture in that transition. and then it'll come back to you. The same way that you use a mouse pointer, right? Like you look at an object you want to click on, the pointer comes to your vision, and then you click. That's the way it works. And your gun is no different. One other thing I want to point out, it is likely, I think I counted 9 holes in the head, and there I think it probably should have been 12, something like that. It is likely, here we are. I go frame by. So I'll put a line down on the, I'll put a better line down. I'm sorry, I'm going to get it. There we go. So as you can see, this line is just over the front sight. You see the gun go off, gun comes back down. Now the gun's in a different spot, re-aiming. Now it's clearly aimed in a different place, right? Boom, now the gun goes off again. This issue is, it's very common, and let me talk you through what I want. So if this is your head box here, your sight should come onto the head box, and you're going to confirm, yes, the sight looks good. You reference the front with the rear sight, and I like to see brown head box all the way around that front sight, so I know that I'm going to hit it. Then, boom, the gun goes up in recoil, the sight comes back down, and you confirm again. The 2 sight pictures should be aimed at the same spot. This drill distance change-up, it's as much about your kind of aiming discipline on that head, especially with iron sights and especially with 40 cal. I'm not going to lie. Like this, in my experience, the setup that you're using, shooting a limited, like an iron-sighted major gun, is probably the hardest way to do this drill. And that's good because the sights get disrupted a lot, and you need to be disciplined about getting that second sight picture. It's got to happen. And just based on the hits, I don't think it did. Oh, and I should also say, here you can see clearly you're over swinging or over driving the gun, which is another thing that's, I look at it like, man, you got to get your eyes to the target first, get your eyes in front of what you're doing. Yeah. So between these drills, I mean, I'm definitely seeing improvement. You just look more confident and capable than my recollection. So that's good. And the other thing that I really enjoy is that you're working on the smart shit to work on. Like you're kind of weighting things towards recoil control, discipline, transitions, that sort of stuff. That's really important. And I should also point out, I loved the immediacy of your shooting here. So the gun comes up. It's shooting as soon as it's coming onto the targets. So perhaps in the meantime, you did some work on your target transitions. So I'll tell you what, this target here, this is excellent. Really nice. So well done there. Well, all right, man, that's what I've got for you. If you have any questions or comments, put them down below.